You're listening to I Have Some Notes, a podcast supported by listeners like you. To contribute, visit patreon.com/I Have Some Notes. Inhabitant, sinister.
No.
Tenant, malevolent.
Next.
Occupant, nefarious.
Nah.
Local bad?
Ugh, we're never gonna crack this.
Wait, resident evil.
Eureka! That's it! That's the one!
What are you guys doing?
Naming a zombie movie?
I have some notes. Welcome, everyone, to I Have Some Notes, the movie podcast with cuts, keeps, punch-ups, and tweaks on mediocre movies. I almost forgot how that went because I'm host Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
And I'm Greg Beaver.
And today we are discussing Resident Evil.
Back to the old video game well.
Yeah,
it's only been 2 episodes.
As sure as a mediocre as ever.
Yep. Back from the era of all mediocre video game adaptations of films in the early 2000s, the early aughts.
I would say that the early aughts are almost the highest concentration of mediocre, just period, let alone video games. There's a lot of mediocre down there.
It's kind of a dork age.
A lot of good. I don't want to be a big hater, but there's a lot of stuff down there.
Have I ever told the story about seeing Uwe Boll give a talk live at Metro after Postal?
I
told this story?
Don't think so.
Possibly.
Yeah, he's a crazy asshole. No need to put him on a pedestal or anything. But I remember this always stuck with me. This one comment. Somebody asked him, how does it feel to know that your movies are in the bottom 100 rated movies of IMDb? And this is back, 10, 15 years ago when peak relevancy of IMDb. But yeah, this guy's like, you're in the bottom 100 rated movies on IMDb. And he goes, yes, but most movies on IMDb are not rated. There's all sorts of movies on there that no one has seen. So he's like, I'm actually in the bottom of the top 10%. Because people have seen my movies and they are talking about them, and I get to make movies and people watch them.
I mean, if that's the goal,
can't argue with that.
That is a measure of success that you could apply to his movies for sure.
Crazy bastard. This is not a new Uwe Boll movie, but you could definitely
mistake it for one, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
a Paul Anderson movie.
Yeah, that's unfair, I think, to Paul W.S. Anderson.
Well, this certainly isn't one of his better ones. I don't know if you guys had seen that Patrick H. Willems had, it was on Nebula. He had a sit-down chat with another gentleman, and they were just discussing how they think Mortal Kombat was the best video game adaptation. And they had several pretty compelling arguments. One of them was that the Mortal Kombat movie manages to take important game elements and put it into the movie. Like, it is a weird cast of characters that go to a crazy place to have a fighting tournament. Mm-hmm. That's the movie. And it is what you kind of want it to be, especially as, a teenager in the 90s.
Honestly, the original Mortal Kombat movie is pretty good. It's not that bad. It's a shame. Everything that came after is a shame, but that first one's pretty good.
For sure. It's a lot of fun. I don't know that it's a great movie, but it is fun. And I appreciate it for that reason. And I think, those two things, like adding the game elements and being campy and fun, are both the things that Resident Evil does not do, and therefore is quite a big detriment to it.
Yeah. This is not a good adaptation of that IP, unfortunately.
Where are you guys with that particular IP? Like, what's your experience with Resident Evil games?
I played through the first one, like the PlayStation version. Took me a very long time to beat it, as I recall. I think that was also where I discovered that I'm terrified. The only type of horror I'm actually terrified by is video game horror. I got a hard time getting through it. So but I did enjoy that game. And I played, is it Resident Evil 5? That's the 2-player version. The one that's kind of, low key or high key racist. I don't really remember. It's the one that's set in Africa. Anyway,
I wasn't going to Google it, but now I am. This is all news to me.
Anyway, the gameplay in that one's great. It's really fun playing a 2-player Resident Evil zombie horror movie or a horror game. So that's basically my experience, but I really haven't touched the franchise a whole lot outside of that.
Yeah, I've played bits and pieces. I'm sorry.
Oh, just confirming. Yes, that's the one set in Africa.
I've played bits and pieces of Resident Evil over the years. I haven't been closely following the series. I kind of wasn't really into horror video games when I was a teen. I kind of grew into them a little bit. So the first couple Resident Evils I didn't really touch. I went back and played them a little bit, but not really to completion. And just kind of bounced off the rest of the series, especially as it started turning more into an action franchise from a horror franchise. Mm-hmm. The interest in it, that was around the time that I started to get into actual horror video games. And so the shine had kind of come off of it. So I never really got into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a Silent Hill man.
Oh yeah, Silent Hill for life.
Whereas, I'm very limited familiarity with Resident Evil. So for all I know, this is the most spot on adaptation you've ever done. See,
no, I just because I have played some of the earlier games a little bit, and I'm familiar with the lore just from cultural osmosis, and I can tell you right now, this one doesn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, I could tell you Raccoon City, even having never really played them. Yeah.
Everyone knows what Umbrella
Corporation.
Is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll know the basics. Yeah.
This leads me to a question that I feel like should maybe just be floated early. Should this movie have been a Resident Evil movie?
No, because it's already in a movie called Event Horizon by the same director.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. But even just further to that, like the movie doesn't really follow the story of like the first couple video games. It doesn't feature any of the characters. It just kind of features some of the set dressing, but it's still set in the place of the games. So it's not like, well, you could just say it's something happening somewhere else. So like it leaves me to wonder, could they have just filed off the serial numbers? And this could have just been to fall back on a joke that Liam put in the script at the beginning, Inhabitant Sinister, and not Resident Evil per se, and just been its own IP.
I think very likely could have been, especially because it seems this movie and a lot of older video game movies, at least is what it seems like to me, their priority isn't doing justice to the source material. Their priority is still making the same kind of metrics and the same kind of concerns they'd have if this wasn't tied to an IP of like, what do people want to see? What does our market research say is selling well? And if you compare this to the Mario movie, where like Mario movie goes out of its way to give you every possible reference you could expect, whereas this is wholly unconcerned because it would not because it doesn't care, doesn't think it's important. It's just more focused on doing blockbuster movie stuff first, and then if there's room for, like, you know what I mean, like it's kind of discard. Like I imagine them, taking pieces and just tossing it over their shoulder, like, don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this, and that's enough of it. Raccoon City and the nerds will be happy. Make me my zombie
It's sort
movie.
of like the spectrum of how you do a good adaptation.
Yeah.
Like between like being loyal to the source material and then being too loyal to the source material. You know, like this is on the opposite end of the spectrum compared to the Mario movie, where it's too overloaded with references and wholly uninterested with being a good movie, whereas this one's not interested in the source material a whole lot and also not interested in being a good movie.
Yeah, to that point, I feel like it's almost using Resident Evil just for brand recognition to get people into the theater and not really much else. But at the same time, you say that like the Mario movie is an example of this going too far. But on the other hand, I'll point to, say, The Last of Us. The TV series was incredibly faithful to the video game. Some might say arguably in that case also too faithful, because it's basically just live shooting the cutscenes and stuff. But also allegedly is very, very good. I have not seen it, full disclosure, but also very true to the video game. And so I feel like there is a balance to be struck when you're making a faithful adaptation. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think this is it. And as I was watching it, I was just like, this didn't need to be Resident Evil. They could have made their own IP. They wouldn't have had to pay royalties to anyone. Like, seems like a missed opportunity.
Also not have been able to like advertise in video game magazines and bring in the fans who were like, oh, Resident Evil movie. Oh, that wasn't for me, you know.
Yeah. And to the movie's credit, it did spawn a particularly niche fan base and
a long-lasting franchise,
and a long-lasting franchise,
Yep.
Jeez, I didn't hate this movie, but I can't imagine being a fan of this movie at any point in my life.
This is a pretty mid movie, and in fairness, maybe the rest of the movies get better. Hard to say. Have not watched them.
Not in the bits and pieces that I've seen. I see no evidence of that, but. Yeah, they do get increasingly wilder. I do know that. And I'm pretty sure Alice turns into like some sort of T-virus mutant superhuman, I think. So it keeps getting crazier and crazier.
Well, let's get to some of the details here. We'll honor the details of this movie if the movie doesn't honor the details of the game. Resident Evil came out in 2002. Directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. No, not that Paul Anderson. Known for Mortal Kombat and all the other Resident Evil films. Based on the games for the PlayStation. Stars Mila Jovovich as Alice. You might remember Lilu Multipass. That's
who could forget.
Can't wait to watch that movie again soon. Michelle Rodriguez as Rain. Eric Mabius as Matt. James Purefoy as Spence, and Colin Salmon as One. Wow, Greg dropped some box office numbers in our show notes, and it's the first time I've seen them. Budget $33 million, worldwide box office $103 million.
So a success by that metric, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because those don't include like DVD sales, and this movie would have highly benefited from those. So like in today's numbers, that would be a flop just based on like the advertising budget needed, right?
Yeah.
But in 2002, with all the physical media sales, this probably did very, very well, and that's more than likely why they ended up getting 5 more movies, right? Speaking of which, George A. Romero was asked at one point by Sony to write a script. They wanted him to write and direct, and it was all based off of, I guess he had done a Resident Evil 2 commercial in Japan. So he, I love this little story. He had his secretary play through the game for him and record it so that he could use it as a reference. And he came up with, he did 5 drafts, apparently, according to what I was reading, which is crazy. I was only able to find his first draft, which definitely, from the bit I read, I wanted to read it all. I couldn't get through it all yet. But it definitely feels very first drafty. And, it feels like there's pacing problems and, maybe these things need to be rearranged, cut, and whatever. But it does feel much more like a movie than what we got. And there's immediate characterizations. The characters from the game exist. It's all about Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine. In this version, they're a romantic couple. And it's kind of similar to the game in where a team is sent to the mansion, and then a rescue team has to go in after them, right? So apparently the studios didn't want to do Resident Evil 1. They didn't want to adapt the game directly because at the time that this movie was about to drop, Resident Evil 2 the game was about to drop, and they didn't want this one to feel dated. Which feels a bit like a mistake to me, but we'll get to that, I suppose.
Yes, especially because if you've got the sequel coming out right away, why wouldn't you want to refresh everyone on the story of the first one?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Juice the sales of the old one, especially if you ended up making a pretty good adaptation.
Yeah.
So a little bit of movie history there anyway, with George R. Romero's involvement in it briefly.
Yeah, I just like the idea of him making someone play through and then record it, like early Let's Play. But also, you couldn't hang out with her and
Nope. I'm busy.
Watch them do it. Yeah.
Do my research.
Well, let's hit the trailer and the plot summary, and then sink our teeth, zombie joke, into Resident Evil.
Deep underground, in a top secret research lab, security has been breached. A deadly virus capable of contaminating the entire world has been released.
Oh my god.
We have to get out of this building.
What was that?
It's the brakes!
It's okay, we're here to help. Now, an elite team has been sent in to stop it.
5 hours ago, Red Queen went homicidal.
Who's the Red Queen?
State-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
The corporation's keeping a few secrets down here.
But they have only 3 hours left before it begins infecting and mutating the whole human race.
Deep in an underground facility, looking equal parts futuristic science lab and Mike Judge's office space, an experimental virus is stolen and set loose on its workers. To contain the pathogen, an AI known as Red Queen seals the facility along with Doug from accounting's fate. Elsewhere, Alice awakes sexily draped in a shower curtain. Woozy from passing out in the shower, she stumbles her way through a large mansion when she's attacked by some guy named Matt, who claims to be a Raccoon City cop. Just then, commandos burst through the windows, screaming orders and expository dialogue. Alice, you see, is an employee of the Umbrella Corporation. She and her partner Spence, who they later find hidden in a train, were tasked with guarding the secret entrance to the Hive, a genetic research bunker. When Red Queen sealed the facility, it also gassed Alice and Spence with amnesiatic gas. Why gas your sentries? Shut up, that's why. With the Red Queen seemingly gone rogue, the team ventures down into the bunker's depths to shut down the AI and find out what went wrong. Security safeguards lay waste to nearly all the commandos, leaving only a hapless computer boy and Michelle Rodriguez. Despite Red Queen's warnings, the computer boy shuts her down, opening the Hive doors and releasing the zombified staff. Oh my god, finally, some zombies in our zombie movie. The remaining survivors must uncover the virus thief and escape the Hive before succumbing to the resident evil.
Yeah, it is a pretty long walk
to get to those zombies. Yep.
Yeah.
And kind of a loud, noisy walk at that, I was getting annoyed with the soundtrack quite a bit, and there was several scenes where there was just sort of like a lot of yelling, and I turned to Aaron and I was like, please make this movie shut up.
It's never been more egregious than in this movie when a character is trying to do something stressful, and instead of the camera taking the time to see what we're watching them sweat, we're watching what their hands are doing. It's just other people yelling. What are you doing? Make it happen. Go. What's happening? Why is this happening? Shut up. I'm trying to. And I'm like, if that was me trying to solve any problem harder than an escape room, just imagine trying to do an escape room while someone's screaming, what are you doing? What are you doing over and over again?
Yeah, there was a scene what I consider to be one of the signature scenes of this movie, where there's a long hallway and the security device goes off and these lasers start firing down the hallway, and the hapless commandos have to dodge these lasers. And like you say, like a lot of needless yelling, it keeps cutting back from the hallway room to the just outside, where Computer Boy is trying to like hack and stop the lasers from firing off. Mm-hmm. And it's just constant, like the characters just screaming constantly, then cut back to this, then back to more screaming. And it's such a loud scene that really just like, this is supposed to be like one of your signature moments, and you kind of ruin it because of it, you know? And not to mention, like, I don't like, is this movie rated R? I don't remember, but like, okay. So in that scene, after a couple people get cut down by the lasers,
exactly where you're going. Yeah.
The last thing that happens is that a grid of lasers come at the last surviving commando, and he gets diced up into a bunch of cubes, and we get this kind of close up of his face sort of sliding off itself, you know? Yeah. And but we never get, they walk into the room after this, and we never get to see a pile of meat cubes in your R-rated movie, like out of a signature moment like that. Like that's such an omission not to be able to see the aftermath of what just happened. For a zombie movie,
it's a surprisingly goreless zombie movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
To that end with the hallway, not only do you not see the meat cubes, you see the guy who got cut in half. You see his top half and his bottom half, no blood. Yep. And when I pointed that out, Amanda was like, maybe the laser cauterized it. And it's like, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. They come back to the computer room later in the movie and mention, where did the bodies go? They've disappeared. And nothing comes of that ever. They just they wanted an excuse to not have the corpses in the hallway anymore, I guess. Because nothing would have come and eaten them. They didn't get up and walk away. It never pays off. They're just not there anymore.
Oh my God, I didn't notice that. Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that.
They literally even say, where did the bodies go? And nothing comes of it. Like, it's just, did something hit the cutting room floor there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or did the Red Queen clean up after her mess? I don't know.
I mean, it's such a empty movie overall. Like,
empty's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, like the Alice's character, like Mila Jovovich's character has almost no characterization. Aaron was screaming at her to emote. Like, do something with your face. You know?
Action scenes are also really sloppy. Like, they're edited really weird. They're like slowed down to cover up how like goofy they look. Like, it's real. It's not a very for an action horror movie. The action's pretty like tame and kind of sloppy.
Because it's edited to shit. Like, there's a scene where they blast a zombie and you just don't like. You see a quick flash of a body going back, a quick flash of a gun thing, but you don't. It's not visceral. It's not. No. It's like, that technically happened. Those frames flash in front of my eye, but
and a zombie movie should be visceral. Like a good one.
They're also
to the thing Aaron yelling at. Oh, sorry. I want Aaron yelling at Mila Jovovich to emote. She spends the whole first half of the movie figuring out what's going on, why she's amnesiac, what her powers are, why can she do high kicks that she didn't think she could do, whatever. But that basically means she's just sort of standing there having plot happen around her stoically for the first half of the movie. And I leaned over to Amanda. I'm like, she's waiting to be the final girl. She's just standing there waiting to be the final girl.
Yeah, like, sooner or later it's going to happen. It's just if I wait
eventually
around
there
long
will be
enough,
no more people, and she'll have to do something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. If I can touch back on the action scenes, if I may, just real quick, but they're also they're not constructed very well. And I'm thinking of what's the one thing everybody thinks about when they think about playing the Resident Evil game, the first PlayStation game? It's that fucking dog crashing through the window, right?
Yep.
And that does exist in this movie. Alice does fight dogs, and one of them does crash through a window. But it's not, a nice long shot of a hallway and a jump scare. She's already seen the dogs. Mm-hmm. She walks away from dogs, and then it crashes through a window. It's like, it just seems like such a flub, especially since they had already establish the dogs exist. Cause you see that, I think, in like the cold open in the hive. So you know that they're there. So for them to smash through the window wouldn't be, out of nowhere. So they did their work setting them up, and then they flubbed what would be an easy jump scare and a great reference to the video game. So yeah, that's just an own goal.
An own goal.
A lot of own goals in this movie. Even the mystery surrounding Spence isn't well done. Like, it's pretty obvious he's the bad guy right from jump. Like, he's shifty, he's acting suspicious, he's found, like, there's no mystery about who stole the T virus. Like, it was obvious to me from the moment they encountered him on the train. I'm like, oh, that's the bad guy. Like,
I also wasn't exactly clear. I mean, maybe it should be self-evident, I suppose, but like, why is he stealing it? What is he planning to do with it?
It's implied for money, but it's not super clear. No.
Because he was a sentry who worked for the Umbrella Corporation, right? Like, his job was to guard it, and now he chose to steal it instead.
That whole bit is just like so overcomplicated to me for them to like both be sentries for the Umbrella Corporation, the Hive, at the top of this mansion or whatever, and then for them to be knocked out by gas and be amnesiacs, and that's what they're building the mystery, quote unquote, around. And like, the big problem with that for me is that it leads to a bunch of pretty poorly shot flashback scenes that we get periodically throughout that are wholly, I mean, they're wholly uninteresting. They don't really add anything to the characters. They're basically just sort of expository in the most minimalist way possible. So yeah, it really cuts down any possibility of excitement of there being a mystery unraveled.
Because you can just tell it's getting slowly unfolded. It's just every time she touches something, she's going to have a slightly longer flashback.
Yeah.
I have a fix for that. I'm glad you brought that up. I have a fix for that.
Yeah.
I
do as well.
A fix for that, so I think we all saw that as a problem. Yeah.
So we have been dunking on it. I want to focus on one thing I did like. I like bait and switch might be a generous term, but the idea that the Red Queen locked everything down and that's a problem. And then they encounter the Red Queen. She's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up, get out, screw you. And they go, no, we came here to shut down the Red Queen. We're shutting down the Red Queen. They do it. That unleashes the zombies. Now they have to reinstall her to help. Great. But now it's back to being a liability because the Red Queen's not going to let them out. That sort of churning of like the threat and usefulness of the AI, I appreciated. That felt like organic, justified plot movement. And I as a structural thing, I like that use of that character, I guess you'd call it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can work. Like the AI has some clear motivations that butt up against the commando team and Alice herself. So yeah, it works all right. I don't know that it's shot and filmed and scripted in the most exciting way possible, but you know, that's
I hate that it's a little girl with a creepy voice. That's ridiculous. But just the idea of its usefulness changing throughout the script, I thought was somewhat elegant.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something to speak positively.
I'm actually also racking my brain trying to think of something that I particularly liked about the movie. Here's the thing. And I said this in the Discord. The movie's competent enough to not be bad, but it's not good enough to be good. And so like, there's very little that I hated about the movie, but it's hard for me to latch on to anything that I particularly liked about the movie.
It goes down pretty smooth, I guess.
It's smooth but bland.
Yeah. Look, we've done worse movies for this podcast. I said in the Discord that I hate this movie, and I don't think I'm going to back down from that. I've seen way more offensive movies that are more offensively bad than this. But the way that all the information is doled out, it feels very insipid. It's there's nothing I find particularly fun about it. And in the end, it's a zombie movie that is quite boring and bland, and even the special effects are terrible. So I just don't really have a lot of nice things to say about it.
I think you cracked it there with the way the information is doled out. That was my biggest problem as well. And I think in our chat leading up to that, the action scenes are kind of crap. So most action movies run on this action beat, exposition beat, or character motivation beat. Action beat, exposition, and or character development beat. And it kind of bounces between those two in the most bland, boring way possible. Here's some exposition sort of ham-fisted given to you. Here's the thing that's technically an action scene. Here's some more exposition that we just sort of dumped in your lap. Here's another disappointing action scene. It's not bad. It's just grinds through the motions. It's going through the motions.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It also goes through the motions too long because it's about 2 scenes too long. Which is saying something for a movie that's $140, but it should have ended when they got back up to the mansion and the medical team shows up and sedates them. That smash cut. That's the end of the movie.
I forgot all about that.
And then, but instead it keeps going. It almost starts over, and it's why is this happening now? All of the stuff with her in the second lab and her in the city could have been in the second movie. It did not need to be
that from my memory. They don't just tee up a second movie. They start a second.
A second movie. Exactly. Yeah. It should have ended with them being captured by the medical team at the end. Hard end.
I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I do appreciate about that, though, is that you actually see Raccoon City, which is ostensibly the thing that is most at threat by the Hive, right? Mm-hmm. And you never get a sense of what Raccoon City is about, the people that live there, or anything like that. And I said in my Letterboxd short review of this that if your movie's called Resident Evil, at the very least it must have a sense of place. I never feel like I really know where anybody is in this movie. There's a very brief establishing shot of the mansion very early on in the movie, but that's pretty much all we get, and it feels so loose that I don't have a sense of the geography of the art. I don't even know where the mansion might be, just in I assume it's in the greater United States somewhere, but is it nestled within mountains? Is it on plains? Is it in a deep forest? Where is this thing?
Island, swamp. Give me all the basic land types.
That's right. And so, it just helps ground me with where this place is. Despite the fact that, most of the movie takes place in an underground bunker, it's the movie can't just be about the bunker and the isolation of the bunker, because the stakes are that this virus will get out and contaminate people, right? So you have to be able to see what's at stake.
I 100% agree with you. I think the movie misses a beat by not giving us the stakes of why it can't get out of the facility. Further to that, partway through the movie, Nita turned to me and legitimately asked, how did they build that place? How do you build a giant underground lair under a city with no one noticing? Mm-hmm. The logistics of it were silly. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for that, but at the very least, I agree. The movie should have spent even just a little bit of time in the city at the beginning, maybe following someone on their way to work at the Hive, so that we can see kind of the stakes of why you can't let this get out of the facility. Show us a bus full of school kids going by. Show people playing in the park. Show Raccoon City at its best, so that it's bad if zombies get in there.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially because that every day, that very opening shot, we see all the people working in the hive, and then we immediately see tragedy befall them that isn't specifically zombie related. So like all the everyday people we want to care about, we have seen die various ways in the first 5 minutes. So like, who are they going down there to sit? Like, yeah. Like, what are they protecting? Like, the nebulous city outside.
Because it's implied that like they don't even live within Raccoon City. They've lived underground because they mention that they have those windows with like the city set up. It's like it's fake, but it's supposed to give them a sense of the outdoors so that they don't have to surface or whatever. I don't know. Like some of this stuff, I'm just not sure why it's included. It just seems, antithetical to like the most virus outbreak movies.
Yeah. Well, let's get into fixing it, because I definitely have some thoughts, and I know you guys do too, and so do our listeners. Strap in for listener comments.
Oh boy, dude.
We'll be back on the other side.
What's up, nerds? This is Josh from Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and so much more. Every week, we break down the latest blockbuster movies, TV shows, revisit comic events. We even talk to comic creators like Kyle Higgins, Melissa Flores, and Matt Groom. And don't miss out on our Superhero Showdown episodes, where we debate your suggestions on who would win in a fight, or maybe they might become friends. So join in on the conversation with me, Josh, and my co-host Alex every Wednesday on your podcatcher of choice. Look for our yellow and red icon, and we'll see you soon, Smackheads.
Welcome back to I Have Some Notes. We are fixing Resident Evil. Who wants to kick it off?
I can go. So I hate the amnesiac plot quite a bit. But I do like the idea of the movie opening with the Alice character like knocked out in the shower. And I was trying to solve the problem of, if she doesn't have amnesia and potentially there's no like knockout gas or whatever, what exactly would she be doing there? So what I landed on is to change the character quite a bit. No longer is she a agent of Umbrella. Instead, she is a journalist. She's been she's been investigating the Umbrella Corporation. She thinks something's going on at Mansion. She just doesn't know what. She's clocked that there's this dude who seems to be going back and forth to the mansion. She approaches the guy at the bar as sort of like, tries to romance him a little bit. He takes her back to the mansion. And it's at that point, like, it could be something like, it's raining really heavily and they get into the mansion. He brings her upstairs and he's like, you know what? You can go rinse, warm up in the shower or something like that. At that point, something goes wrong with the hive, and this guy, what's his name in the movie?
Spence.
Is it one?
Spence.
Sorry, Spence. There we go. Spence doesn't know what to do, because she's not supposed to know that this is some sort of secret facility, and cracks her over the head and leaves her with a gaping wound in the shower. So that's how we get her knocked out. So everything that I explained isn't explained at the beginning of the movie. We just, get in there in media res with just Alice waking up with a gaping wound on her head. And as she gets up, she walks through the mansion trying to figure out, what has happened, right? In this case, like, now we can kind of have some of the elements of the game where, she's exploring the mansion. She goes outside. That is when she's immediately chased down by the dogs. So that presents a situation where she can't really escape. She goes, back upstairs. She's trying to find a way of getting out. She sees that, the car that they drove in is out the back park. She tries to escape on the back, can't do it. Everything's locked. Everything's sealed up. And then she notices that the windows are like hermetically sealed and they have like, high-end locks on them. So like what's going on with this mansion? And then we can even have kind of like a situation where she finds like in the game, you kind of find like these weird medallions that open up locks and things like that. So you can have one of those. She gets past the door, and it is at that point that she meets our first zombie. And when she meets our first zombie, that's when we also run into the commandos. The commandos show up, shoot the zombie that's attacking her. And then we get a little bit of an exposition of, from the commandos and what they're doing. When they're ostensibly doing is, there's been some sort of breach in the facility. What they don't tell Alice is standard operating procedure when something goes wrong in the facility is to get down into it and self-destruct it, right? So they're basically going down in there to destroy. What's happened though to them is that the computer guy in the movie, he's already dead. He's been killed by one of these zombies, right? So now they need someone to help them with getting themselves down into the hive. And, through Alice's journalism, maybe she's a bit of a computer whiz or whatever. Maybe she's done some research regarding the Umbrella Corporation that gives her a leg up into like hacking into some of the sealed doors. And that's her way.
This is early 2000s, so it's very easy to just say she's a computer hacker and like an anarchist journalist.
Yeah.
And she just has nebulous computer power.
Yeah, I envision the word cyberspace being used liberally and that kind of stuff. So we don't actually meet Spence until much later in the movie. He's already down into the hive. Trying to he does want to actually take advantage of the situation and steal a virus and all that type of stuff. When the main commando finally meets up with Spence, what we find out is that he was never supposed to be in Raccoon City. He was supposed to be isolated. He just wanted to get a lay or whatever. So that's the whole reason that Alice ends up being there, just because he was horny, and the commando gets to chastise him and be like, you're supposed to be you're supposed to just be here. You're not supposed to be in Raccoon City. So then we get more characterization of this guy's motivations and his he's willing to, he's kind of off the rails or whatever. Anyway, that's as far as I got.
I like this, and this is probably the pitch we're going to pick up with, but I do want to present a counter pitch. Sure. Which keeps the amnesia. I know that neither of you particularly liked it, but I think that there's a way to make it work and make it work better. So I just want to float it as a possibility. And that is, you keep the amnesia, you have her wake up with amnesia, but as she starts piecing together the early part of the plot, you disguise much better who is responsible for causing the calamity. And you make it look like she's responsible, and you set up enough clues that she begins to suspect she's responsible. And that gives her motivation to try to help the commandos, to try to help the survivors, because now she's dealing with the guilt of thinking, am I the person who did this? Am I the thief who tried to steal this stuff? Yeah. And then it's better disguised later on that someone else, in this case Spence, actually did it. It absolves her a little bit, but it gives her early motivation. And it makes for a better twist when you finally find out that it wasn't her, because you've kind of set up that it might have been. And I think that's more interesting.
It would give her the opportunity to insist that she wants to come along. Yeah. Because the way that the movie plays out right now, she's just along for the ride just because, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I like about my version is that you kind of get this opportunity to play to use Alice's situation to sort of characterize the commandos and their moral core, right? Because ostensibly, Alice being there means that, they have to get rid of her because they're going to destroy the hive. and they need to destroy all evidence that exists that something's gone wrong, right? To safeguard the Umbrella Corporation. So, you could have this kind of play between Michelle Rodriguez's character and I forget the main Commandos guy's name, but
that's one.
That's one. Okay. So, Michelle Rodriguez is Rain, right? Yeah. Rain and one. So the two of them have like this sort of argument, like, okay, you why are you bringing her with us? She can't come with us. Because we have to deal with her. And it's like, well, we'll deal with her when the time comes. But for now, we need help getting down into the hive. So, I like having that kind of, but I don't mind the way you've characterized the amnesia plot. It does sound better that way. Just anything that gets, gives you a reason for Alice to go down there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like your having her as a journalist, and we're not sure why she's like. You're both correct. Greg, can you just clarify for me though Spence's role in this? Because as I understand what you described, Spence thinks he's bringing a woman back to his
palatial mansion. Yeah,
his palatial mansion that he's supposed to be guarding because they're doing bioscience in the basement.
Correct.
And then he goes, "Oh shit, I shouldn't do this," and he hits her over the head. You said, but then
something goes wrong in the facility.
Okay,
and they're he's getting warnings or whatever. I don't know how you would whether alarm goes off or something like that.
Sure.
And at that point, he's like, "Fuck, I'm screwed." Then I
got to cover this up.
So he hits her. Okay. That's why he hits her over the head.
Fine.
I don't think he even needs to hit her. I think he could gas her.
Whatever.
That's where I'm going.
I just like the visual of someone waking up with a gaping hole in their head, and just like that presents like a greater mystery of like why they're, I don't know, why they're there.
No, I'm just trying to like shore something up, and Scott, if everything goes what I think it's going to go, it ends with him being the one to gas her. But then Scott, Greg, you said he's already down deeper in the facility trying to take advantage of the situation.
Right.
So that's, I guess, what I'm not under. So like something nebulous went wrong in the thing, and he has to cover up the fact that he's, bringing women to the workplace. And then once he does that, he goes, "Oh, crime of opportunity," and goes and tries to take advantage of the situation. Yeah. Is that what you're pitching?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay. I like everything you said, except that she's a journalist. She's snooping around. She's going into the mansion on her big lead. He's coming out of the mansion with the stolen goods, and he goes, "Oh, fuck, who's this journalist? I better gas her." But in the tussle, they both get knocked out, and then they both have amnesia like they do in the movie.
I don't even think she needs to have the amnesia in this case because she doesn't know the mystery. So it's still an opportunity for her to learn more because she's trying to uncover the mystery. She has motivation to uncover the mystery. I don't think Spence needs to come out. I kind of like the idea of him being deeper in the facility already. I think if we go with Greg's idea, his going to pick up Alice needs to have been the catalyst for what went wrong. Like him not being at his post that night.
Someone went causes down, and then the accident. He's not the thief. And then he's not the thief.
And I agree. I think then someone else might be the thief instead of Spence.
And if he's not the thief, then he doesn't need amnesia. And then great. Yeah. Then no one needs amnesia.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Dig it. If we want to keep the amnesia plot, I don't have a fix for the amnesia thing. I just had a fix for the flashback thing. So I'll just hit you with that.
Sure.
The flashback fucking sucks. This movie, as written, everything stays the same. The way they do the flashback is so sloppy and cringy. Where she's like, "I forgot, I got gas and I forgot everything." And then every time she like touches or like interacts with something that might jog her memory, it's like, well, 10 minutes of movie have gone by. Time to play a little more of the flashback clip.
Yeah.
And we get right down to the point where like the second last time we see the flashback, she goes, "You have to get me the goods, but the price will be high." And then the next time we see her, it's like, "You have to get me the goods. The price will be high. Promise me to take down Umbrella Corporation." All of that is cringe as hell. And it's based on a video game. What do video games do really, really well? Just pretty much any video game. Like this. Environmental storytelling. As she's digging around down there, every time we get a flashback, it shouldn't be a flashback. It should be some sort of tangible, physical clue or piece of set dressing that like fills in some of the picture for us. So she can pick up something that makes it look like maybe she's the thief. She can pick up something that makes it look like maybe she was corroborating with the cop guy's sister. She can find some files where we learn about the sister, and none of it has to be in a flashback. It's just organically discovered by clues in the set.
I think that happens in our new version where she's a reporter anyway, even if we're not covering up flashbacks. Speaking of Matt, I noticed that Greg didn't mention him in his version of the events, and I hadn't even noticed until you brought him up. So that tells me he's a pretty superfluous character.
And it would free that, if you cut Matt, it frees that actor up to go do the early 2000s hot sauce commercial he would normally be appearing in.
Yeah.
He would have fixed his scheduling conflict.
Oh boy.
Fantastic.
I like the idea of the commandos having some conflict about bringing her into the facility, and I like the idea of Rain and One having issues with it, especially because One ends up dead, and I think he's one of the first commandos to still end up dead in this version. I think they stick around a little longer. I think we pick them off slower than have them just essentially get wiped out almost immediately. But I think he's one of the first ones down, and I think we still keep Rain as one of the last ones alive, so that part of the character arc there can be her going from the one at the very beginning who's like, we're going to have to off this lady, to at the end being like, you're going to be the only one to get out of here. Here's a gun, go.
Yeah.
Because I'm bit
and
I'm
the
going to
final
die.
girl all along.
Yeah. Like I think that makes for a fun arc for Rain as a secondary character. I feel like that helps further that in an interesting way. Yeah. I like that.
A lot of my cuts, or not my cuts, a lot of my fixes are very cosmetic. So can I just bang through them real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really tinker with the structure of this. It was just more the delivery that I had problems with. Like the big one was the way the flashbacks play out.
Yeah.
So we talked about how the writing is bland as hell, and like really boring. I never thought I would miss cringy action movie one-liners. But this is joyless. There are no jokes. There is no moment of levity. And so like even the sort of cheesy action movie thing where like somebody gets hit in the head and someone goes, "Hey, that's really using your head." Like there's none of those like Schwarzenegger like quips like chill out. Any of those would have just like seemed like they were at least trying. And I never thought I would miss cringy action movie lines, but in if that's the alternative to the milquetoast, like, what are you doing? What's happening? What's going on? What are you doing? What's going on? What's happening? That's every line of dialogue in this movie.
You have one of the commandos walk in after she's taken out all of the mutant zombie Dobermans and asks, what happened? And she can say, just had to take the dogs out. Boom.
Boom. Exactly.
That's right off the top of my head.
There's none of that in this movie. So put some of that in there.
Yeah.
We talked about how the action is kind of bland. It has too many cuts. It's not that it's not gory. I'm fine that it's not particularly gory, but the cuts are so egregious, it's insulting. And the action needs to slow down and be presented thoughtfully. This movie reeks that it was like, we don't got the budget, we don't got the time. We get one chance at the high kick, and we're gonna take whatever we get. So chill out, add a couple extra million to the budget, and do the action scenes like they don't suck. Or maybe it's just in the editing. Maybe it's the editor's fault. I don't know, but
I don't know if there was much there that they shot.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
have them be footage of a person carrying out an action, because at no point there's too many cuts, so you never see just a person do a thing. You see it sliced into a million little cubes. Speaking of like what I was trying to articulate earlier about this sort of being like prioritizing blockbuster movie tropes over honoring the Resident Evil source material. That whole cold open where you're seeing the disaster strike the hive and there's that extended scene where the woman is like half stuck in an elevator. Even if that is kind of exciting, be like, oh man, is she going to get chopped up by the falling elevator? That to me screamed of some producer being like, there's got to be an action bit at the beginning of your movie. First 5 minutes, you got to hook them with a great bit of action. Hey, and like just sort of making up some danger to entertain us in the first 15 minutes instead of maybe just starting with Mila Jovovich with a bonk on her head or some amnesia in her brain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to have this like kick-ass action start just because it's an action movie. Like that seemed like some sort of truism someone was unwilling to let go, and they worked backwards from there.
Yeah, I think like if you're going to pay homage to the game, the part of the game is the unraveling of the mystery. Yeah. Like you don't get to the secret underground bunker medical facility until I think the third act of the game. Yeah. So like, opening with the hive and, getting already an understanding of like, this is like a secret facility and stuff like that. Like it immediately, I think undercuts the mystery that you're trying to build, And
we know it works because Event Horizon, the movie that this ripped off, to my recollection, does not start with some sort of random action beat just to satisfy the idea that you need a random action beat at the start. It starts with a slowly unraveling mystery. Like, Scott seems deep in thought.
Yeah, I had a crazy idea.
Oh, nice.
I think at this point we're kind of merging the characters of Matt and Spence. And we're not making Spence the overt villain in this case. He legitimately is just a guy who's trying to fix things down below. I think he makes it out with Mia Jovovich at the end. The two of them get captured by Umbrella Corporation. And the commandos all get taken out, which led me to wonder, well, then who's the one who set off the emergency? Who's the one trying to steal the T virus? Because we would, in theory, need to tee that. It shouldn't be a mystery. It should be teed up early on. There should be some clues early on. And that led me to wonder, could this be a Die Hard 2 situation? Could this be a Violent Night situation? Could the commandos be taking advantage of Spence being lax on his job to try to steal it themselves? Could they be the thieves?
Maybe.
I do think that would be fun.
Yeah, that's probably more fun than what I was going to suggest, which is the thieves got down there, got most of the way out, and then the AI got them. And at some point in the second act, they find the thief, and he's dead, holding the T virus.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily, having suggested the commandos thing, I immediately kind of talked myself out of it in my brain. But I'm wondering if it could be linked to Mia Jovovich's interest in getting in there somehow.
Sure.
Like she's not the only interested party, or she's with a group that were also interested in getting in, and they've disappeared, and maybe that's why she's gone to the mansion herself at this point.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know. I feel like there's an elegant way to link the thievery in with this still.
Yeah, I do think like Liam pointed out a good hole in what I had pitched, in that it ends up just being a crime of opportunity for Spence in the way that I had pitched it. Which, I mean, I think that could work as long as there was enough characterization of Spence to really justify it, so I guess it would be difficult because you kind of have to spend more time with him. So he can't just necessarily like straight up disappear. Like I had him showing up like, much later in the third act, like maybe he's got to show up in the middle of the second act.
I think it is. I don't want to like pat myself on the back too much, but like if someone went down there to steal it, got most of the way out, and the AI intervened, that also helps sort of set up the potential, like, oh, was Mila Jovovich maybe involved? Okay, she's not, but maybe the AI was, and that's why we got to go down and destroy the AI. No, the AI was actually trying to preserve safety, and maybe get a fun action beat where we meet the guy who tried to steal it and he's scared and in a corner and he's locked somewhere and he can't get,
Yep.
What if, hear me out. We had previously said it would be nice to get some shots of Raccoon City early in the movie. So what if instead of starting in media res with her in the shower, we start with her and Spence hooking up? And we find out that they've been set up by someone. Like Spence was specifically, and it's a throwaway thing. This was a date that was set up, and we learn through the first act after Spence, they get back to the mansion. Spence looks at some readouts on something while they're just about getting ready to get freaky, and maybe like a little alarm starts going off, and he's like, oh no. And he like gasses her inexplicably. So she still gets gassed and we don't know why. And then he disappears, and then we kind of have a little fade to black and fade back up, and she's coming to, and she's alone in the mansion all of a sudden. And so you've got a little cold open still. You get a little bit of Raccoon City. So you get a little bit of that, the stakes of why you don't want the zombie virus to get out. And then it turns out that the person who set them up, we find out through her that she was being set up with him because he works for Umbrella Corporation, and she was trying to get a lead with Umbrella Corporation, and he was being set up with her because he just wanted to get laid, and someone was trying to get him out of the mansion that night, and they were being set up by the thief, and then they find the thief downstairs in the hive as well.
Yes to everything you said, but now we're back to the beginning when when they're about to get freaky and everything went to shit in the basement. The Red Queen gasses them as a security measure.
Sure. That's except he still gets down inside before she gasses everybody. Or again, if he's not
the thief, then he can toddle along with him like the cop does. Like now he's back to being part of the party.
Well, yeah, but I even think we don't necessarily need the Red Queen to gas the mansion because she's just gassing the hive, right? And he's a security guy upstairs who's supposed to be guarding the place. So I think he still goes in. He just gasses her because she's a liability at that point. He doesn't want to deal with it right now because there's an emergency downstairs.
Yeah.
So I think that still works. And the Red Queen can still lock things down after he goes down. Yeah. And so he's still trapped down there. But then we don't have to worry about him having been unconscious at any point. And there's a mystery of where did he go and why, which is part of the early part of the mystery, right?
I disagreed until you sold me where did he go and why. Because I'm like,
Yeah. So like we have an early mystery of why is she there? Is she just an innocent bystander? No, it's quickly established she actually is there to poke around. But also, where did this guy go and what's actually going on in this mansion? I agree with Greg. We spent a little more time in the mansion at first before the commandos come in. And then that leads us into Act 2, where we start to go down into the hive. And then Act 3 is a big set piece in the hive. Spence and Alice are the only two who get out, and then they get captured by Umbrella Corporation at the end. Boom. Smash cut to black. End of movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As you were talking about that, I was the scenes of like the opening sequence started to flicker in my mind. I do agree that showing us some of the nightlife of Raccoon City would definitely add to that sense of place that I was complaining about earlier.
You also have him drive her to the mansion. So you get like a nice like helicopter shot of like them driving out into the country around the lake.
And we find out if it's in a mountain or a plains or an island or a swamp or a forest.
I would almost like to see some of that night elucidated throughout her exploration of the mansion or whatever. Maybe in I know we don't like the flashbacks, but I wouldn't mind flashing back to it because I would love to go from like a meeting at the bar, and then we get Spence saying something like, "You should come back to my place," and then we just smash cut to Alice on the ground with a hole, a hole in her head kind of thing, or I think, and then you get like this, a little bit of time for characterization of Alice, some time for characterization of Spence.
Or at least her first impression of Spence.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we'll get to know him better in a later act of the movie.
And then you still get to have that fun waking up, bloody in the shower, not knowing what's going on, and the audience is right there with you, like, what the fuck just happened? That's crazy. I don't know necessarily if we need to have like the setup side story that that you had mentioned. But certainly like
I was just trying to work in the thief a little earlier on.
Sure. Yeah.
I
get it.
Scott's pitch that they're.
Yeah. But I definitely think that establishing Raccoon City in that sense, as well as getting more time with Alice and Spence off the top is, perfect.
Yeah. And then you still preserve that little kind of mystery. Wait, what just happened? I kind of like that. And then Spence can even say later on, like, well, I knocked you out. Like, no offense, but an emergency happened and I didn't have any way to deal with you at the moment. So I knocked you out. And he doesn't need to have actually struck her. It can literally be he gassed her in the shower and she fell down and hit her head. Like,
I guess it depends on like how like whether he is a part of the villainy plot or not.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
because I do like him as the ultimate villain, even if it is a crime of opportunity. If he's more like Matt than Spence, then certainly he could have just been in a weird way trying to protect her. I don't know.
I mean, they could both still get out, and then there'd be a final twist at the end where he reveals that he was actually the one who orchestrated the theft in the first place, just before the medical team breaks in and captures them.
It was me in the shower with a candlestick kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just as soon as he drops that revelation and it looks like she's in danger again, the medical team swoops in and captures them both, especially because he's going to be, in theory, turned into Nemesis for the next movie, so...
Right.
Yeah.
We never even talked about the big gnarly mutant thing that chases him around.
Yeah, let's not
keeping that.
Let's not even talk about the big gnarly bad CGI monster.
It can stay, I guess. Why not? Yeah,
sure. Why not?
Yeah.
No, we had our chance and we blew it.
Well, I mean, that is, if you're trying to keep some elements of the game, that is sort of like a big part of it. The sort of the escalating mutation of monsters and things like that. So that's perfectly fine to keep in there. It would have been nice if there were a couple scenes where that monster was a puppet and it looked fantastic in the close-ups because those were, makeup jobs or creature jobs. Then when they're doing the far shots where it's a bad PlayStation monster, that's a no bueno.
Yep. As always, use practical effects where possible.
And we know that Paul W.S. Anderson is familiar with doing such things because he worked with a giant animatronic robot in Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
Yeah. We should probably move on to listener comments, but just while we're talking about production design choices, I had one more aesthetic thing I wanted to change.
Yes.
The more we've talked about this, the more I like the AI, the Red Queen. I think it's an interesting character / MacGuffin / challenge. Great. It should not be a creepy little girl. That is so cringy and hacky, and it's just there to be creepy. Like, it's so many choices in this movie are like, first thought, best thought, can't see the forest through the trees. You know what I mean? Like, it's creepy and it's a horror movie. No further thought. And so I just want to change it from being a creepy little girl for the sake of creepiness and have it be, I was kind of thinking like any other AI voice. Like, I mean, GLaDOS is the goated evil AI voice, but
Hal
or Hal also kind of works. There's, and both Hal and GLaDOS kind of have the like monotone coldness. Hang on, Scott shaking his head. We're having a quick aside here on best AI voices ever.
Shodan, guys. Shodan. My electronic queen Shodan is the best. System Shock.
Oh.
The original. GLaDOS aspires to be Shodan. Shodan walked so that GLaDOS could run.
Okay. Well, the one I'm pitching for this, I think instead of trying to do the GLaDOS or the Hal or whatever, where it's very like monotone and it's creepy because it's cold and calculating and unemotional, I think even though it anachronistic, should be that TikTok voice, that AI TikTok voice. Like, whenever my family gets back from vacation, I always show them this hack. But if it was like...
You want to send that voice back in time.
Back in time, because it would be like, you're all going to die in here. The T-virus got out, so I had to lock it down.
Well, at the very least, that would add some levity, right?
And it would maybe add some levity. Like, if it's a little bit funny, if it's a little bit like, we're having this dead serious new metal Marilyn Manson fucking early 2000s monster horror movie, and there's one character that's like,
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to be that goofy, but you could get a popular early 2000s like comedian to do the voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get Jamie Kennedy to do it. No, don't do that.
I do like it's Umbrella Corporation's like version of Clippy that that's running the AI. Yeah,
or like Siri, like
Pretty
a
good.
friendly Siri voice, right? Like,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why Jamie Kennedy was my pull. Forgot I said that. I'm embarrassed about that. We had almost all forgotten about him. If I hadn't said anything, you all would have continued on your lives, never
Jamie
thinking
Kennedy,
of him
a
again.
big influence on Liam Creswick as a comedian.
Good luck. No. Goodness, no. Oh, we also have some listener comments. Thank you to everyone who contributed. We got lots of big ideas here, so we're going to get right into it. Bogo Load says, aside from better CGI, I think I'd steer a little farther away from the game's structural elements that it picks on and a little more into some Event Horizon-y self-sacrifice. Agreed. Carries on. But I think the start of the movie and getting to the Red Queen sequence are pretty stellar. I'd probably have...
Yeah.
Oh,
we kind of all like the Red Queen. I also agree with Liam that the Red Queen stuff is probably the best part of the movie.
I'd probably have Purefoy's character be dead when the movie starts and the Umbrella Goons more villainous all the way through and cut the liquor and leave it as zombies. We didn't.
Well, I mean, we did.
The liquor is the big monster,
liquor is the
right?
Yeah, the liquor is sort of like
I thought that was like
the mid heavy, not the big heavy. Yeah,
yeah.
So I don't know. We just talked about that. Like an escalation of mutations is fun. So I don't. If you want to cut it just because they look bad, that's cool.
Robin Taylor says, upon rewatch, my first thought is this is an expensive Yui Ball movie. Ridiculous music, unmotivated and constant camera movement, goofy dialogue played straight. I had said earlier on, I think that's unfair to Paul W.S. Anderson, but apparently, Liam, you weren't the only one who was like, I'm having flashes of Yui Ball here.
Yeah.
Might have actually been spurred by that Robin Taylor comment in the Discord, but I was more just excited to talk about the time I saw him introduce Postal. And also, if you're not familiar with him punching a bunch of critics, it's a pretty wild piece of internet history.
Yeah.
Look it up. A Ratlon comments, what I like, the beginning of the containment of the virus by the Red Queen, the suspenseful parts of the way to the Queen, except the exposition dumps because of amnesia. Would be inclined to agree.
Yep. 100%.
Dislike, way too many false jump scares. Since there is no sneaking avoiding of the zombies, the action could be a bit better than okay. Agreed. It's boring action to watch.
There was the one jump scare where the pool, the woman stuck in the water, which is actually a cool visual. But the way that they do the opening eye thing was to do like a jump cut to like her, instead of her just physically opening her eyes, they jump cut to like another scene of her like opening her eyes. It just like, it doesn't work. So like, I agree with Radlon. Like, yeah, some of the attempts at jump scares suck.
Whenever there's a bad jump scare in a movie, Anita is like, was that the Spookums? Was that a Spookums? and there was a lot of moments in this movie where we were back and forth going, did a Spookums happen? Was that a Spookums?
Ratlon continues, the Red Queen feels empty and wasted. If I had amnesia and someone wanted me to go down into a secret weapons bunker because everyone there is dead, I would say no.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
Gave her some motivation.
Needs to be motivation to go down there. Yeah, 100%.
Ratlon's fixes, expand on the opening by having a group of employees try to survive against the Red Queen. Replace the slow amnesia exposition part. One by one, they die or are separated through clever use of technology within there. Example, letting the dogs out or using the laser nicer dicer.
That's a great. I love that.
The laser mazer bobazer. Banana fanafo phaser.
One or perhaps three manage to shut down the Red Queen enough that at least the people are no longer being attacked, but they are stuck there. They send out an SOS. The task force is on a rescue and reconnaissance mission. Alice is part of the team alongside Rain, or perhaps they are both the same character. Interesting pitch to just have her be part of the commandos. And then there's that real, man, actually, I don't know. I don't think we have time to unpack that, but yeah, I really think you skipped the whole amnesia thing by just having
her be part of the commandos.
Well, yeah, I mean, like if she is part of the Commandos, then it's really just like Resident Evil 1, because like it's the Alpha team that goes in after Bravo
at that point. Alice might as well just be Jill Valentine. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and it's also like Event Horizon, where they're just going in there to do the job. Yeah. Rallon carries on. The thrilling path to the Red Queen is similar, but it now slowly shifts from the Red Queen threat to the zombie threat. Love the water body scene, by the way.
The one that Greg was just complaining about.
Well, no, that visual's cool. Yeah. The jump scare sucked. That's all.
The rescue team finds some of the survivors who inform them of what the Red Queen has done and that something else is now afoot here. Among the survivors is the thief who triggered the whole thing. Yes, that's what I said. The team reboots the Red Queen, but unbeknownst to them, they install a command to run the whole thing as a field test now. There are action scenes, but also stealth scenes that are more reminiscent to the game. The ending could unfold in a similar way.
Yeah, that's a pretty slick fix. Yep. Andrew Craig says, Paul W.S. Anderson is a conundrum to me. He is by far responsible for more guilty pleasures for me than nearly any director. He got his start directing music videos, and I'm not entirely sure that he's not under the impression he's still doing that. I love It's actually interesting that Andrew Craig mentions this. I know we've hyped up Patrick H. Willems on this podcast before. We're all big fans of his. He just put out an incredibly good video talking about the music video to Hollywood Pipeline that used to exist and how it's like a snapshot of time that's just never going to happen again. And it's very fascinating video, and I highly recommend checking it out when you have a moment to do so. But back to Andrew Craig. I love Mortal Kombat, Soldier, Resident Evil isn't terrible, but I get why you're doing it. His oeuvre could arguably be an entire season for you. I like that his movies are just fun and stupid. I'm not required to think a lot, and those kinds of movies are important, especially at times like this. As for specifically Resident Evil, the biggest problem with me is that you could spend 20 minutes on the script and it doesn't have to be a Resident Evil movie. Yeah, we talked about at the beginning. It doesn't have to be a Resident Evil movie. I think the big problem with Resident Evil, Andrew, is that while it is stupid, it's not that fun. Unlike some of his other movies, which are fun.
Yep. Yeah. I do believe, from what I can scratch together from the sequels that I've seen, that it does get at least a little more fun than, because they, there's, it becomes a world of like a post-apocalypse, and Wesker shows up and he's very weird. So I think there's at least that, to the further movies, that it does get a little bit more heightened and surreal.
And then Tack comments, with this fix, when the soldiers enter the mansion, Alice and Spence evade them, aided by the strangely accommodating mansion. Secret doors open for our heroes, but have to be forced open by soldiers. Alice is led to the train and chooses to get on board, while Spence is suspicious and ends up staying and getting caught. Once she arrives, the train leaves her. She gets more clues and learns to distrust the computer system in time to join the newly arrived soldiers. The soldiers do not understand her amnesia and only offer some answers to our mysteries. In short, do not explain amnesia so quickly and so dismissively, and let us explore the setting with Alice confused and piecing things together before we get concrete answers.
Yeah, I think that's a good note, because like part of what happens is like when the commandos first arrive, like they're just kind of like screaming expository dialogue at her. It's not a great way of revealing anything. It just ends up being quite annoying. So I do agree that if you were going to keep the amnesia as part of it, maybe a little more of a slow roll of like why she's been knocked out and left without a memory would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, that's our fix for Resident Evil.
Lots of big thoughts from our listeners on this particular one.
Yeah, everyone went to the theater to go see this guy, and they were like, "Oops, bad idea." Yeah.
I wonder, Kate, I know we're pushing the length of this podcast to be as long as this movie. But I wonder what kind of movies being released now are going to have this kind of like weird staying power. Like, I don't think Borderlands is gonna spawn a bunch of sequels, you know what I mean? And also, just watching this movie, I have a really weird relationship with movies from like the early 2000s because it was like, it's now been long enough that it's got a decade gestalt, like the 80s or the 70s, where you think of the 2000s and you can picture the way the media looked and the way the fashion was. Yeah. And it was an objectively better time than the times we live in now, but not necessarily for me personally. And so I'm always like kind of conflicted. Like with 90s movies, it's like, take me back to the 90s, please. Oh, I can't wait. And stuff from the 2010s, I'm like, oh, take me back to the 2010s. 2015, what a time to be alive. But the 2000s, it's always just got this like icky dreamlike feeling to me. Anytime I see movies really set in that time where I'm like, I don't know if I want to go back to this time, because it's like a dream. It's like a weird dream. And this movie, right down to Matt's haircut, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this decade. I never understood, and the media never seems to sell me on it. Like,
it does seem like kind of a profoundly uncool decade. There's something within fashion and movie making that was just so try hard about it that it's sort of like it was sort of the end, I guess, of the extreme era where they were kind of like trying very hard to look cool and failing.
It's an obnoxious decade.
Hard at it. It is an obnoxious decade.
Yeah, it's
100%. Yeah.
Sorry for that weird aside. I just that was one of the things that kept distracting me. Was I was really thinking about technology encased in semi-translucent plastic bubbles.
Yeah, I mean, movies are like as much like, even if they're not about the time period, they are very much a time capsule of that period. And the style of this, I think, is emblematic of like. It's both emblematic of the early 2000s movie making, but also emblematic of bad filmmaking at that time.
Anyway, thanks for listening to Resident Evil. Let's take it home.
Yeah, we had a lot of thoughts about this one, and so did the people who we talked to on social media, and you could be one of those people. You can follow us at ihavesomenotes.bluesky.social. At I Have Some Notes Pod on Instagram. We're at I Have Some Notes on Facebook. But of course, the best place to talk to us is on our Discord server. Lots of conversation there. Lots of lengthy essays being written about Resident Evil, which you could have gotten in on. The link to join that can be found in the profile of any of our other social media accounts or at ihavesomenotes.com. And of course, as always, give us a little rating and review on your podcatcher of choice, because that helps us out.
You almost said I have some posts, and that maybe should be not the actual handle, but our name, like our display name on Blue Sky. I have some posts. And of course, you can visit patreon.com/I Have Some Notes to become an armchair screenwriter for just $4 a month. You get access to some bonus content we put on there in the past, but mostly it's just a way to let us know that you appreciate what we're doing and to help us, cover some of the expenses that goes into producing this show. If nothing else, we will thank you greatly for your support. Like this, thank you to Sharon, Karen, Tack, Josh, and Robin for your contributions.
Yeah, and next time we are returning to the Bond series at long last. I believe the last Bond movie we did was Moonraker.
That was a while
this
back.
Time, yes. So we'll be doing a Brosnan one this time. The World Is Not Enough in a couple weeks.
Until then, I'm Liam Creswick.
I'm Scott C. Bourgeois.
I'm Greg Beaver. Keep watching the skies.